All right, let's go underneath. Not going to be very easy to get the lids off of those guys. Now, it looks to me that somebody has used front wheel drive spindles here to make their own upper and lower A-arm, and then use some GM calipers of some kind for the back brakes. They have mounted them upside down, which is strange. Must be hard to bleed them that way. I'll probably swap them side to side. Make it a little bit easier to bleed and work on. Hopefully not my blood. And then up front, it appears to be a Mustang 2 type front suspension on this custom frame. So I'm gonna shut this off and work on getting some caps off these master cylinders, see about draining them out, and we'll take the wheels off and see what's going on with the calipers and the rest of the brake. Alright, I've got it jacked up, and let's give this wheel a little spin. Well, it spins. Leave a little shake here. Oh, let's go play in the bearings of the ball joint. That's good. I've got the brake lines underneath cracked. Well, off, actually. I'm just dripping the rest of the fluid out. I had a look up inside one of the master cylinders after I took the cap off. This actually doesn't look too bad. It had a little bit of crusty stuff on it. But inside of the caliper, that is another story. It's pretty gross in there. Lots of crud in there. They're going to have to come off and get cleaned out. See if the seals are any good still. So I'm going to get this wheel off and we'll have a look at the brakes. Alright, so this Mustang 2 caliper setup is it's pretty common hot rodding stuff. You find it on a lot of home built hot rods and customs. Still to this day, it's a very easy system to mount to any sort of car. So to take these calipers off, you just need to take this bolt out of the retainer here, and then get a hammer and a drift and bang on this retainer. Slide it right out the back. And then it blows into a million pieces. And one of them invariably ends up in your bucket full of used oil or brake fluid. And you just have to pick them up and wipe them off. Well, this guy, spring piece, just sits on top of this guy and then slides in and holds the caliper away from the bracket. Slides right in here. Now the caliper is free of the bracket. You got one brake pad here. Looks pretty much brand new. And a piece of tape. Another brand new brake pad. All right, I've got this all back together. I'll go ahead and put the tire back on. And we'll get this back one off. Let's get this back wheel off. It's a Volkswagen? Well, the front had lug nuts. This has got lug bolts. So it looked to be a Ford front end. Mustang 2. Well, I guess maybe this is just an adapter that they've put on here on this back brake rotor hub thingamajiggy. I'm not sure why they did this. So I'll have to investigate a little further. It looks like there's six bolts on the back of this, and they've adapted it to 5. Wonder what they would have got this off of that had 6 bolts. Well, let's take this adapter off of here and see what's what underneath. Just this was closer. There it is. Okay, so what did they do here? This is very, very interesting. You see that? That looks like they filled that in, and then I don't know what they've done here. Oh, I see. These are rotor retaining screws. So this was a 5 bolt originally. They've taken the studs out, and they've drilled and tapped for the spacer, and made the spacer into a 4 bolt that accepts wheel bolts. All in an effort to maintain the same bolt pattern as the front, 4 by 110. 4 by 110. Strange. I would have just made the front 5 bolt like the back, rather than having to go through all this trouble. Well, all right. I've got the rotor off and the caliper off, and you can see what they've done here. Knocked out the studs, drilled a bunch of new holes to mount that adapter plate, and the adapter basically bolts to the rotor, and the rotor bolts to this flange with 1, 2, 3 full threads. The rest are all very partial, so that's all of the holes that are, driving this vehicle forward. Not very much in the way of substantial meat there. Maybe it's a good opportunity to figure out a better solution to this problem. And the calipers look okay. Pads are basically brand new. The rotors, same thing. I did look at the odometer in this car. It reads a little over 3,400 kilometers, which is not very far. So it explains why everything looks fairly new, even though it's better than 40 years old. Time to continue exploring. Rear brake caliper all cleaned up. I have taken the one from the other side, so I can have the bleeder on the correct end of the caliper. Can actually bleed it. Now there's a protrusion here on the caliper. Right here. This protrusion. And then there's a protrusion on the spindle. Right in that area. Right there. Now, if you try and put the left side spindle, the left side rotor onto the left side spindle, everything works out fine. The protrusions don't touch each other. But if you try and put the right onto the left, now you can't do that because the protrusions will hit each other and you won't be able to fully get the caliper on and tighten the bolts down. Now, whoever designed the suspension has used the right spindle on the left and the left spindle on the right. So I need to flip the caliper to the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off, and then that will allow the caliper to go on properly. I have to out-engineer the genius who thought this up in the first place. Cut that off of there, and now we'll be able to fit this caliper up. There we go. Tighten these bolts down, and then we'll have to reattach the brake line. Alright, I got one of these master cylinders loosened up here a little bit. I'll show you what's inside of here. Oh, it's 40 years of dried up brake fluid. Yummy. So I'm going to have to get the rest of them out and clean them out and put them back in. Well, alright. You can see we got these two master cylinders turned down, and we'll hit them with some brake clean and clean all that crap out. Make sure you wear your face protection or your eye protection, or definitely at least eye protection. Maybe some straw. Well, I think I'm going to have to scrape those a little bit and then give them a wipe and another spray. Alright, I got this nasty clutch master cylinder here. Let's crack it open and see what it looks like inside. That's not the screwdriver I was looking for. Ooh, this one's got more stuff inside. Yummy. So very yummy. So the other one's had Jell-O, and this one has some burnt peanut butter. Burnt crunchy peanut butter. So lovely. Okay, well, I'm gonna go grab the dirty bucket and some brake clean, wash this thing out. Whatever they made these out of, some kind of aluminum, I think, or aluminium, or alloy, or depends on where you're from, I suppose. It really didn't corrode, which is quite impressive. Well, I may have spoke too soon about this master cylinder. It definitely has a little bit of pitting in there. It's possibly salvageable. I don't know. I'm going to try running some brake fluid through it and see what comes out. I really don't want to put it back in if it's not going to work, because it's in a really terrible position to get at. And if we do end up having to replace this, it'll be much easier to find something with a remote reservoir so you can actually get fluid into it and out of it if it's going to be sitting for any length of time. And to order something like that, you need to know the bore of the cylinder, be it a master cylinder or a brake cylinder or a caliper even, if it's a non-stock sort of thing. And this one happens to say the bore size right on it, 3/4, a pretty standard size. So we'll see what happens, and we may have to order one up. All right, well, I've taken the master cylinder apart. As you can see, there's a lot more goo inside of it. The bore looks not super bad. I'll try and clean it up and see if it's salvageable. That? Don't worry about that. It's not a real F40. Wouldn't hang stuff on a real F40. It's just a Fiero with body kit. So I'm going to bleed these brakes reverse style because it's been a long time since they've had any clean fluid in them. So I'm going to take the brake bleeders out, and I'm going to put some pipe dope on the threads to seal them up. That way we don't have any air leaks when we're trying to push fluid backwards through the lines. And then I will put brake fluid in here, connect this hose to the other end, and I will connect the other end of the hose into the bleeder, and then I will pressurize this end and push fluid up through the bleeder into the caliper, back through the brake lines, and not to the master cylinder because I have the hoses, the hard lines disconnected. And we'll show you how that looks. All right, so I've got the bleeder assembly attached to this caliper up here. I'm going to attach my pressure pump to the other end of that hose there, and then we're going to expect to see some fluid coming out of that line that's hanging there horizontally. Since this is a split system where this master cylinder is the front and this master cylinder is the rear, we just need to make sure that bleeders on this caliper is closed and the bleeder on this one is open, and then we'll have fluid flow. And then we'll change to the other side and reverse bleed that side and then do the back. Okay, we'll hook up this pump here. I know this is not the right fitting for this pump, but I don't know what happened to the other one. So we'll just make this work. Yeah. Stay out of the way of the dripping. Oh, here we go already. It's coming off. Yeah, I got fluid pushing up the line. That's good. I said it's going up the line. Go on. Well, it doesn't seem to be going up the line. This is going to take a while. All right, I had to change my setup a little bit. My other pressure reservoir was not holding pressure. It was leaking out the top. So I made a little new one out of a little pop bottle. And now we'll try and put some pressure to this thing and see if we're... Oh, yeah, well, that popped off again, but that's nothing new. Okay, the fluid is going up the line now. Oh, yeah, here. Oh, I can hear it. It's coming out. There it is. Ooh. That actually looks like clean fluid. Okay, well that's good. Now that'll tell me that my line isn't blocked. And it's pretty clean, so I'm hoping there's nothing extra fancy inside that caliper. And we'll do the other side and the other two in the back, and then we'll do it the other way.